This landing page got more leads in 4 weeks than the client was expecting in an entire year. It was booking qualified calls for just $51 for a multi-six-figure sale. Today, I'm going to break down the 17 parts of this landing page structure, section by section, so you understand exactly how we got these results and you can steal it for your own business today. Let's get started. Alrighty, so here is the page, and it's important to remember that this page, this landing page, is our digital appointment setter. But what most people get wrong when it comes to landing pages is they have them as like an afterthought, or they're sending their traffic to a homepage, or they're sending it to like a Facebook lead ad form, and they're wondering why they're getting a low volume of crappy leads or a high volume of crappy leads. So when I work with my clients, we work in high ticket lead generation. And the goal is never leads, the goal is qualified leads. And when we are doing our landing pages, there's actually quite a lot of thought process that needs to go into it and some key ingredients to make them high converting. Let's get into it. So the first section on the page is the above the fold. I'll show you some of the mobile design as we're going through, but basically the mobile collapses into a single column. It's more about the inputs onto the page. Now we can see here with this navigation, there's no links to exit the page. All I want somebody to do, their one action is to sign up on the page, and that's it. In some instances, if you've watched my other page breakdowns, we might have some anchor text in there, like anchor links. So we'll have a nav and it might say FAQs, and when someone clicks it, it anchors down to that page, but we usually test that within the page. Now, when it comes to our landing pages, basically above the fold, there's going to be 4 key ingredients I can show you: target market, messaging, social proof, and the offer. So for our offer, that's the most important thing because that's basically what our digital appointment setter is selling, right? And obviously we're not trying to get them to buy a house on this page, but we are trying to get them to take an action. So we are trying to sell something, and that is an exchange of their information and their time to put that into the forms that they take the next micro step with us on this page. So above the fold for the headline we have, say no to ugly, outdated granny flats. Then we have downsize in style and build the perfect luxury mini home in your own backyard in just 12 weeks. Talk to our team today to discover how you could be living in your custom designed luxury mini home with zero stress in 12 weeks or less. Apply for your free design consult. Super clear what we want them to do and what the next micro step is going to be. By doing our research on the target market, we knew that there were going to be people over 50 who were actively looking to downsize, but there was some friction to downsizing where it kind of was seen as like an annoying thing. These people have been living in their family homes for years and years. So while they might know they need to downsize, it's a bit of a friction there. The other thing is, and we overtly say it on this page, they don't want to live in an ugly little granny flat. They've been used to living in these like bigger, beautiful homes, and they don't want to live in these granny flats. And even when you think of granny flat, just the word granny makes it feel old and doesn't feel sexy or exciting. So the first thing that we wanted to do was figure out how can we call what they do something else. Not granny flats, but these luxury mini homes. And for this particular client, that becomes like our proprietary system because you can't buy that anywhere else. You can only get that with our client. They're the only one that sells them. And then the other thing we wanted to have was starting to break down some of the friction that people have with other home builders. Because, and I'm sure this happens in your area, there's a lot of horror stories and there's a lot of concerns about timelines and even budgets blowing out as well. So we have a guarantee that it's gonna literally be in under 12 weeks. You'll also notice throughout the page, we have one call to action. There's one thing you can do on this page, and it is to take up the offer. Now you'll also see that we have an image of one of their beautiful luxury mini homes above the fold here. And it's a little bit longer in terms of scroll depth than I might have on another campaign, but that's because this image helps with our conversions. You'll notice it's a render, and ideally I would have had actual images, but that wasn't possible for this account. So we want to show the actual product, right? We want to actually use that power of demonstration to show them what they're going to get. And that's why it works both here on mobile and here on desktop as well. Now, starting to move down, some of the next things you'll start to notice are social proof. Especially like in any market, we should be using social proof. But in this market, because the target market are so skeptical, we wanted to have that frequently throughout the page. Okay, so after the above the fold, our next section is the lead. basically just meaning the lead copy after our hero section, that above the fold section. And when we write these, what we have a really good success with for our clients is using the PAS copywriting system: problem, agitate, solve. Now, when we write our copy, we don't want to get them all whipped up into a frenzy and freaking out in all of this negative energy. Instead, what we want to do is we want to show them, yes, I understand you. So how Brisbane, straight away, that's an identifier. Do you live in Brisbane? That's a city in Australia. Retirees, boom, another identifier. Am I on the right page? Is this for me? Yes. Adding luxury mini homes to their existing properties and downsizing into their perfect homes. Intriguing, I'm gonna read more. All without selling their property, moving into an awful granny flat, or moving far away from friends, family and community. Now, again, landing pages are just inputs and outputs. Any of your marketing is just inputs and outputs. Garbage in, garbage out. So this page is only powerful because we spent so long understanding the target market. What's their crappy before state? What's their desired after state? What have they tried before? How do they phrase or word all of this, right? And then we can use that language as inputs into our copy. So coming into the lead, it's a little bit longer form, but we have it from the founder. So we start to humanize this brand. Instead of it just coming from a big building company, faceless building company, we make it feel more personal. Because when we're writing copy, we want the copy when they're reading it to feel one-to-one. But to do that, yes, you need to understand the target market, but you also need it to come from a person or have a certain voice or tonality. Now, some companies won't do this, but the smart ones do, and it comes from a person. And it doesn't always have to be the founder. It can be a real person in the company, or it can be like an ambassador that you make, like a personified ambassador of the company. So again, going back to this PAS system: problem, agitate, solve. We know the big three problems of the target market, and we open up with that. Because when somebody's on this page, they're going to be thinking, so what? Who cares? What's in it for me? Like, is this for me? Do you understand me? So before we go through the rest of the page to try and make them understand us, the first thing we need to do is show them that we understand them. That's how we build the trust, and they'll continue to read the page. Basically, the business who can articulate the problem the best or show that we understand them is going to be assumed to have the solution. So because we did our target market research, we know the three big things that are going to be on their mind. Are you feeling like your current home is too large for you now you're retired? Would you prefer to save all the money you're currently spending on its upkeep? And is all that space that once gave your family so much joy now a nightmare to maintain and clean? Very specific, and the target market is going to say yes to at least one of these. So we go through the page, and then that's the lead. We start to unpack and agitate a little bit, and then we start to solve it as well. So in here, that's why we designed the ideal home for retirees looking to downsize their homes. Is this for me? Yes or no? Now, another thing is, let's just say this client builds homes for other people, new families, first home builds, whatever. And if he had said to us, I'm too worried, I'm too scared, I don't want to isolate anybody, I want to be a home builder, blah, 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 then this page wouldn't land to anybody. It wouldn't resonate with them, and it would not have gone as well. Each one can be built in 12 weeks or less and can increase your property value by up to 32%. Click below, so we've got the call to action now. Click below to book a call with one of our team to find out whether a luxury mini home is the right solution to you. Now, this lead is almost like a summary of the whole page. Some people might convert just from this, some people might convert from this, and you might be thinking, this page is way too long. Like, who's going to read all of this? Let me tell you who's going to read this: buyers. Somebody who is not going to drop 300K, give or take, on a home without making sure that you know your shit. So that's why these long form pages work when it's high intent, high decision consideration. If this was selling a loaf of bread, no, I wouldn't need a page this long. If I was selling a toothbrush, no, maybe I wouldn't need a page this long. But this is something with high intent and high skepticism. Alrighty, so those two sections are going to be the longest that I'll probably explain because they're the most important, right? Typically, people will scroll about, well, maybe have like 30 to 40% that make it to here. But I'm always cautious to not change the page around because often what can happen is it's the buyers who are reading the whole thing. So the next section, or the next part of this structure now, is this power of demonstration, showing the end outcome 22 stunning designs and luxury layouts to choose from, or design your dream mini home from scratch. Awesome. Our next section, you'll see that we start to split it up with social proof, bringing property dreams to life for Brisbane residents. And we don't just have a video or a picture and hope that they read it. We purposefully choose which testimonials are going to go onto the page. We show their image. You can show things like the stars, right? Because that's like in their subconscious, seeing the 5 stars. And then each one will hopefully resonate with a different type of archetype who comes onto the page. Now, this next section, I don't necessarily have for every single client. But again, because we understand the market and we know that because of the demographic that we are going after, trust and relationship is very, very important. So here we have 35 years of experience in delivering incredible builds. Basically, this is like a little about us section. And because this page is a digital appointment setter, we literally want to lean in to the conversations or the objections that people might be having. So you can see here, unlike most builders out there, I come from a background in commercial construction where quality and safety regulations are taken very seriously and deadlines are always met, right? Because on this page, when you're working in a market who's either been burnt before, they're highly skeptical, whatever it is, you need to explain to them not just why you're better, but different. Okay, why is this going to be different to last time? Why is this going to be different to Amanda down the road who had a horrible experience with builders? How do we make sure that we don't feel like just another and we build authority? And through the design, sure, like the design kind of builds that authority, but the copy and even these like subtle little things like having award leaves and these logos and having a signature. If you go and Google right now in your area, home builder near me, I can guarantee you all of their pages are absolutely awful. And this is going to stand out. And like it obviously did based on the results. Okay, so section number 6 on this landing page is the 6 reasons why. Now, we often have these on our landing pages, and inside of our community, The Obsessed, we have all of our marketing systems, AI prompts, everything that you need. You can send me your landing pages for feedback, breakdowns, etc. And you would see in that program that this 6 reasons why, the whole point of it is to do something called connecting the chain of logic. So what we don't want to do is we don't want them confused. A confused mind doesn't buy. And we don't want them trying to figure out why should they work with you? Why should they take the next step? We just want to make it really, really easy for them to understand and put it in like plain English on the benefits. So 6 reasons why people downsizing in Brisbane are choosing luxury mini homes. So I'll break these down in just a second, but one thing I want to talk about is repetition. Because sometimes somebody might read our page and go, that's quite repetitive. Yes, on purpose. Why on purpose? Because I'm not trying to convince them of many different ideas on this page. Imagine if I was trying to convince them of idea A, idea B, idea C, idea D. It would just get very over-convoluted and wouldn't work. So when we are doing the strategy and the research and understanding the market, I know that there's one big domino that if I can get that domino to fall, everything else is going to fall into place and it's going to make sense for them to book in a call. The other reason why we're quite repetitive on pages, but it's usually phrased in different ways, because different people, different user types are going to use these pages. So sometimes there's the word for worders who are going to read every single word on the page. Awesome, love you guys. Then there's the scanners who will just read the subheads. So I want the subheads in themselves to tell a story. And then I'm this sort of person. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to cater to that sort of person soon. Like I'm like, blah, 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 what's at the bottom? I don't know why I do it. And I've watched so many user sessions and recordings on things like Microsoft Clarity, which is an awesome free tool, that I just know there's different types of people coming here, and that's how I've categorized them. So I try to cater it to all different readers. Now, in saying that, in some markets, it skews more to one or the other. This is in what I would call a boomer market, and they typically are quite diligent, right? Because their attention spans haven't been too traumatized by TikTok, and they do read a lot more of the page, which is why we make it a lot more in-depth. Also because they are prone to watching the news, or if you're from Australia, kind of current affair, these sorts of things, then they're very skeptical, especially of home builders. So I have to build the case a lot more. Okay, so now we get into these 6 things. Now, again, this is inputs and outputs. How do we even come up with these 6 things? It just comes from, what does the target market care about? So when I'm figuring these out, these are usually a mixture of what differentiates us, what do people complain about our competitors, what are the pain points, what are the goals, and then we figure out what is going to be the top 5 to the top 10 of these X reasons why that we're going to have on the page, because they basically help us to show them, yes, we can help you with what you're looking for, and we are different, and this is how it's going to impact your life. And what we're trying to do here is we want to start painting the picture of the transformation. And I'm going to show you a bit more of how we do that in a second. But you can see here with this one, we want to start painting the transformation, right? Because nobody really buys a product or a service. They're buying that dream outcome. And if you can understand that, you can crack your market. Most people can't figure it out because they have that curse of knowledge and they're too busy just talking about their products or their services. Okay, so as I was saying before, I want to overtly call out why we are different, not just better, different to what they've tried. So luxury mini homes are custom-built residences made to your personal requirements and built to last like a regular house. This is what we call a like bridge. I think Brunson calls them like an epiphany bridge, but effectively all we're trying to do is draw their mind back to something they already understand and trust, and then make them kind of relate what we have to that. So for an example, a million years ago, I worked with this property investment company. And what they did is they allowed people to put a little bit of money into a home and to own like a fraction of it. And it was like, okay, that's like quite a mouthful to communicate. What's a like bridge we can create? And a like bridge is especially good when you're going into a market that needs education. And because we're introducing something new, like luxury mini home, we need to have this like bridge to help with the education of the market. So going back to this property investment, everyone can put it in. The campaign was for millennials, and this is pre-COVID. So we said, okay, it's like Uber Pool for property investment. Now, is it exactly like Uber Pool for property investment? No, but you start to understand, oh, okay, we're all going to put a little bit in and get to the same destination, and it's going to help me to get into the property investment market. Okay, so going back to this, forget those granny flats that make you cringe when you hear about them. Luxury mini homes are something entirely different. Here's why. And then we go into 1, 2, 3. This is why we're different. And luxury mini homes can be built in your backyard in just 12 weeks. And here are the benefits, just constantly reiterating, so what? Who cares? What's in it for me? Okay, and now as we go down the page, we're going to continue to build the case. When we get into here, this is more of a logical case. We've kind of gone over the emotional case. You need to convince them emotionally, even if your market thinks they're logical, they're not, because we're human. And then you can start to build the case logically. Luxury mini homes offer the perfect solution for older couples who want to downsize but don't want to leave the property and community they love. Our custom designed mini homes give you all the benefits of downsizing while allowing you to stay in the neighborhood you've known and loved for so many years. Now, this is where we start to get a bit more logical. You'll even be able to hold onto your current property or to rent out or allow your family to live in it. So we're starting to help them to imagine this, right? If you can paint a mental picture in their brains, that's how this is going to work. It's the ideal way to retire in style while bringing your family closer together. You'll even be creating a lasting legacy, blah, blah, blah. And then it tells you a little bit more about how it works. The next section then just very blatantly says, this is how it works in 12 weeks or less. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is operational transparency. Okay, so if they are still reading and still scrolling, or if they're skimming headlines, now we've got another headline. This might capture their attention, but if they're still reading, they're not quite convinced, we're just going to make it super simple for them to understand. 3 reasons a luxury mini home will give you a dream life in your retirement. Again, we are just building the case, making it super easy for them to imagine this and see how we're not just going on and on and on about our luxury mini homes have corrugated iron and piping and stuff like that. It's like, no, this is the dream outcome that you get. And hopefully that'll be the biggest takeaway from this is, yes, we talk about the mini homes and how they work and how they're good, but in marketing, there's what somebody wants to hear and what they need to hear. And you have to balance that throughout marketing and sales. What do they want to hear? What do they need to hear? What do they want to hear? What do they need to hear? And even sometimes when I'm working with clients, it's like, okay, well, should we be telling them that in the marketing or telling them that in the sales process? Do they need to be led there? or like understand that through a sales process, or should it be going on here, right? Okay, we have more proof. So videos, we always have forced consumption with our testimonials, more testimonials here. Then we have our urgency and our scarcity. So don't miss out on this. Other ways that we've powered this up, but it didn't necessarily work for this, but you could have, is we might use news articles from big publications to help like build the proof of urgency or scarcity. Now we've got our offer. So you can see here, we want to try to make it tangible. I never know how to spell that. Let me know if I got it right. Then we've just got the title, book your free luxury mini home design consultation with Brisbane's #1 master mini home builder. We have the bullets of what goes in here. Literally like just this, figuring out the offer on its own is a whole craft. I go through this step by step with all of my templates and all of my AI prompts inside the community if you want to join. But effectively, you're thinking about what's the gain, what's the pain, and how can you make it exciting for them? How can you make it feel like if they're going to come into this call, right, they're going to get value no matter what. Then we have our guarantee section. With a guarantee, again, I go over this in the community, but to break it down a little bit more, when we're doing a guarantee, we're just trying to figure out the friction. What's the biggest friction? And a lot of people freak out or they overthink the guarantee, but we just got to go, cool. In business, one party assumes more of the friction, more of the risk. So how can we take that from them? Okay, so this client is awesome. So they can actually promise a 12-week build, great? And then the 10-year guarantee that overcomes the friction and is going to make them trust us more. Then we have our comparison chart. Again, just trying to make it super clear for them to understand. Granny flats is the thing that they're comparing us to. They're not necessarily comparing us to other builders. We could have added in like traditional builders here, right? Like old school builders or something and had that. But instead we focused more on the luxury mini home. Then, because this page is literally a digital appointment setter, someone's going to have on their mind, yes, but is this for me? Boom. The 3 big reasons they would go ahead, we cover them on the page, and you can see here we're using social proof with intent. So we're using videos here. This would be better if we had a little testimonial, but we're using social proof with intent because when we have testimonials, we want people to see themselves in the testimonials. All right, then we have an FAQ because sometimes people scan for this. And then, this is what I was alluding to earlier, for the people that scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, we have our page full stop, which then summarizes everything on the page. Now, I said I'll show you a little bit of mobile before we wrap it up, but literally, it's just collapsed in. Now, sometimes we'll put them scrolling, certain sections scrolling instead of all the way out. It just depends if you want forced consumption and you got to test it as well. But that's like literally it. It just folds into one column. And yes, like it should look good on mobile. I find it easier to teach on desktop. Alrighty team, there you have it. That is the landing page structure breakdown. Next up is to choose your own adventure. If you want to make high converting landing pages, funnels, and marketing systems, and you want everything that I built in my agency and for my own company, plug it into yours and get feedback from me every single day, then you can join the Obsessed. We have the best marketers in there all working together, sharing what they're learning and making epic ads and funnels and landing pages. If you want an agency to do all of this for you, click the other link in the description. We can book in a call and see if I am a good fit. You need to be doing a minimum 1 million a year and you want to scale by getting more qualified leads from paid ads. Or if you want to keep DIYing it, watch this video next that YouTube is recommending. See you soon.